You obviously know Kung Fu.
Hey, what's up? This is Andy Lee from Martial Club. I play the role of Death Dealer in the new Marvel Studios Shang and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and you are here with the Kung Fu Drive-In podcast.
Joining me today, martial artist, stunt performer, actor, filmmaker. You've seen his work in movies like The Paper Tigers, Wu-Tang and American Saga, Luc Van Tien, Kung Fu Warrior, and most recently, he's tearing up the silver screen as the big bad Death Dealer on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Andy Lee. Andy, thank you so much for joining the Kung Fu Drive-In podcast.
No, thank you for having me. I've always wanted to jump on the show.
It's great to finally meet you and talk with you. I've been a fan of your work with the Martial Club. You guys are doing some amazing things, so we're going to get into all of that. But anybody that has followed you knows that you have a saying, martial arts to the death of me. So let me start off and get this all out on the table. I want you to finish this sentence. Martial arts is...
Okay. Well, it's a little cliche to say, but I'm going to say martial arts is life. Martial arts lives and breathes in everything I do. Everything I do is for martial arts. Every punch, every kick, every film I work on, everything. I wouldn't even be involved in this industry. I wouldn't have even bothered if it weren't for martial arts. Martial arts is the goal, and it's my dream to promote the virtues and ethics and culture of martial arts and to put martial arts back on the map. And that's my goal. That's the purpose behind everything I do.
Yeah, and I don't think it's cliche to say, because from watching the Martial Club films and from seeing you do your thing, it's evident that martial arts is something that is just part of you. Whether you were born with it, whether you honed it to the skills that you have today, it's clear to anybody that watches you that everything that you do comes from your knowledge of martial arts, and everything that you're trying to do is to further that study and culture and bring it to a wider audience in an accessible way. Fair to say?
Yeah, fair to say. I appreciate hearing that, because it reaffirms me that I'm doing something right and that I'm on the right track.
No, you really are doing some amazing work. But let me express first my condolences on the loss of Brad Allen. That was such a huge shock, and I know he's done so much for the industry, and Shang-Chi was going to be something huge just for him and for martial arts in general. So condolences on that. And Andy Chang was just on the show, and I know they were super close members of the stunt team. But do you think that Shang-Chi is a fitting legacy for Brad to leave behind?
Yeah, I mean, the little time I got to know him, I've known him for, obviously I've known him since, the Jackie Chan stunt team. I've been a big fan of him, but I've known him like personally for about 2 years. And the little time that I do get to know him, he was always fighting to push the envelope, So he was always like looking out to elevate action and always looking out for the best undiscovered talent, myself included. Like I would even owe it to him that I would even be in this position to begin with. And undiscovered talent push to elevate action. And I think what he did here, like he did his job. He went out with a bang. Like I think, in our very first conversation, I told him part of like my goal was to put martial arts back on the map. And I think this film might be the one to do it. We've been talking about films that, action takes its trend. You got, you started early, and let's go back to the early 2000s. You had martial arts, and then you had your more like superhero movies, and then the John Wicks, and then now I feel like things go recycle itself, like things go in circles, and I think now it's starting to circle back into martial arts.
Yeah,
And I think this film might be the one to do it, which is groundbreaking, and he went out with a bang, and I think he did his job. And I really, like, for me, I feel the fact that he, I'm a newbie in this game, and he trusted me and put me in the lineup with the big leagues, and he trusted this kid who just did YouTube videos. And he obviously, I think he saw some sort of potential or talent, and I just wanted to tell him that you did your job, Brad, and I will do everything in my power to carry on your legacy.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And if anything, he definitely had an eye for talent. So it says something about you guys, right? Now, it's interesting that you brought up the nature of martial arts on film, maybe coming back. I'm older than you, so I was around for the kung fu era of the 70s and the 80s, where I mean that was the entertainment for kids in the 70s and 80s. You know, you watched kung fu films on
Yeah,
Saturdays. It's a big
yeah,
deal, right? Martial Club
yeah,
being one of the main films that we watched growing up.
yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but talking about the waves of martial arts in films, because yeah, they snuck it into things like John Wick, and they and there was the 90s martial arts films, which was kind of iffy in parts, but um,
Mm.
do you think you guys cracked the code then on how to package martial arts for a Hollywood audience with Shang-Chi? Because this is a big opportunity to present martial arts to an audience that may
Mhm.
be not conditioned to just real martial arts entertainment. Do you think you guys cracked the code here?
I think we're getting there. I think this will definitely open the doors, but I always believe that if you're gonna do martial arts again, like if you're gonna circle around, step one, you pay homage to the veterans who came before you. So the ones who laid it down before you, that's been your textbook, that's been your Bible. You learn from it. And as the newer generation, it's our job to push it and elevate it. So I think Shang-Chi definitely opened the doors, and it's we're working towards, I mean, Brad always pushed towards elevating it. And I think the more, if martial arts is going to make its comeback, the more people who do it, they're going to bring in their own taste, their own style, their own, everyone's going to bring something new to the table. And then um just, I think as a generation, we're just going to naturally push it to elevate the genre.
Yeah, that's cool, and it definitely needs to be pushed and changed for wider acceptance. Because Marvel has tried to do martial arts before, and it fell flat. We won't we won't we won't throw anybody under the bus for that right now. But
Mm.
um, what is it that you think you guys got right about the martial arts in Shang-Chi? Because uh, there are so many things that go into presenting it right for an audience. As I was talking with Andy Chang about, bad editing can make good martial arts look awful. Good
Yep.
editing can make bad martial arts look amazing. So, what is it that you guys got right with the martial arts in Shang-Chi?
I think with Shang-Chi, I think it was a trust in second unit and action designers, and the stunt team itself. Like, I know normally, just from my experience working in Hollywood, which I haven't actually worked that much. A lot of my years was focused more on YouTube. I've jumped into Hollywood, little gigs here and there. Anyone can tell me I might be wrong, but from what I've seen is you have the directors who kind of, you take all this footage, they shoot A cam, B cam, C cam, they don't know what they want, master shot, and you shoot the action and that from all angles, and you take all this footage and you give it to an editor that doesn't know what he's doing. And it's hard because you it's one thing to be a martial artist, and it's another thing to understand filmmaking, and it's one thing to be a filmmaker and understand martial arts.
Yep.
A martial artist will know how to throw a punch, but will not know which angle will look the best at on a camera or on the lens, and vice versa. A filmmaker might know how to shoot drama, but maybe not know how to shoot a punch or a kick. And I think to have an action design or a stunt team to understand both ends, especially Brad Allen, coming in there, and with the directors and the the creators, the executives, to trust a team like that. They take the step back, trust a team like that, and obviously work collaboratively to make sure the narrative stays and everything. But I think ultimately the only way I've seen it work is you have someone who understands both ends, the martial arts and the filmmaking aspect. And once you have both of those together, it's a danger. It gets dangerous. And obviously, as you can see now, it's changing the world.
And the action in Shang-Chi really is noticeably different from the way that action and martial arts has been presented in even in some recent films. I mean, you've got touches of the wuxia, you've got the wire work, you've got um, Jackie Chan stylings in there, you got some Donnie Yen hardcore stuff going on. So well done on all of that, and that speaks a lot to that trust that you were talking about between the director, Destin Daniel Cretton, and the second unit and all the stunt guys. Because if the director was one of those guys that needed to make sure that he was in everything and took and started cutting things up to take away from what the second unit was doing, maybe we lose something in translation. But what you guys put on screen is pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah, and that's not to also Destin also. I just also want to credit him that he also stepped in and did a really good job with, on the narrative end. Something as simple as, I'll just give an example from my end. When I was working one day on main unit with Brad, no, it was with Destin this one day, and I remember there was a punch or a kick that I like, one of my specialties I really wanted to do, and I did it. And he's like, just from a narrative perspective, he's like, I'm not convinced by that punch or that kick, right? And so, like, just something from a narrative perspective, he understands the story. He it's been in, he's embodied it to make this movie. And so for him to say that is like, okay, you got to trust him, because like, if this kick doesn't tell the story or carry it forward, then maybe we should find something else to work. So Destin also did his part in the action as well.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, speaking about your punches and kicks, then you've said that you're mostly self-taught. Yes. How and why did you go that route?
Initially, I didn't have a choice.
Okay.
I came from I'm Vietnamese, Vietnamese heritage, and my family came over here from Vietnam. We escaped from an embattled country. We didn't have much starting over here, but initially we didn't have much. You'd have to pick up martial arts from your own. And also, my first exposure to martial arts was martial arts films, martial arts movies, and I knew I wanted to pursue that. Yeah. That's how, as a young kid who got bullied a lot in school, you come home and you watch Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, standing up to the bullies, fighting against oppression. That does something to you. And I knew at a very young age I wanted to change the world, and I knew that I wanted to be just like the heroes I saw on screen. I wanted to be on the big screen, kicking ass and doing martial arts. And I started picking up martial arts during the YouTube generation, when YouTube started becoming big. Sure. And it was easier access to get information, from YouTube. Yeah. And you get more, access to anything, martial arts movies. I'm not going to discredit I have friends who are coaches and professional martial artists. I've trained with them, and I've never become an actual disciple. So I've never become an actual disciple, but I have trained, have training sessions with my friends who have trained me under like a formal, regiment. And so I would say 95% of what I learned is self-taught.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I think it kind of worked out for the better, because when you're self-taught, my brothers and I, we joke about it. We call it the Sharingan. So in like Naruto, you have the Sharingan, which you can watch and copy very well. Yeah. So I think we developed a Sharingan, and it's gotten to a point where I can watch like a Jackie Chan sequence, for example, and it's like whatever, 30 beats, a 30 beat sequence. Maybe I won't be able to download the 30 beats, but I'll be able to download the essence of what made those 30 beat sequence so special, and I could recreate it in my own way. So that's kind of how and I think it came with the ability to watch and copy, and you develop that when you're self-taught.
Sure.
So yeah, and I think in a way it kind of worked out for the better, because if we're going to approach, you know, our mission as martial artists to put martial arts back on the map and spread martial arts to the world through film, I think it actually worked out that way.
That's awesome. You're like a martial arts version of the Taskmaster.
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
what it seems like.
So is there a particular style that you started out copying, or have you developed the martial club style, for lack of a better term?
No, I think the martial club style starts. I would say I'm heavily rooted in kung fu. That's maybe because that's my natural interest. Just gravitated towards kung fu originally, and wushu, because you know it's so beautiful. It's a graceful martial art, and there's a lot of variety of movements in wushu that's kind of universal, to be honest. And a little later, I would say my root would be in kung fu, and then a little later I got into tricking, and I think those two styles kind of fused together, kind of became the root of what became a bit of my style. And then eventually later I started taking on more and more. I actually learned how to, it's not just throwing a 540 kick. Like I learned how to kick. I in a few months. I actually went over to South Korea in, I believe, 2013 or 14. It was a while ago. I competed at the Red Bull Kick It Championships, which Red Bull, they brought in trickers and Taekwondo athletes to compete and battle. And I came out on top.
Awesome.
Yeah, I came out on first place, but I wasn't satisfied with with my performance. So then I'm like, how the heck did I win against all these, Taekwondo athletes and trickers who've trained their whole lives? Like, these Taekwondo athletes have been training ever since they were kids. And so I stayed in Korea for a few months. I made a journey back, and I trained with different Taekwondo teams and learned, different kicking styles. And then that's how I started implementing that. And then just beyond that, once you, at a certain point, you start feeling, and just being able to copy martial arts movies, you just develop a strong variety, a strong encyclopedia, a strong understanding of the martial arts language, and then you just kind of create your own. Yep. So I'm kind of in this phase where you learn all this stuff, and then you have to abandon it and let it go. And once you do that, you really kind of, what comes from the inside, like, you really express what's ultimately your own. Yep. And I think that's like the martial arts at its highest level is expression. It's not just a punch or the kick. It's not about the punch or the kick. It's how it's being done. If I can throw a punch or a kick and tell my whole life story behind it, then that's how I know, like, you're at a higher level of martial art.
That's awesome. And for anybody who has not seen your tricking videos, I highly recommend you go watch, follow the Martial Club on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever, and just watch some of the tricking sessions that Andy and his brothers get involved in. Seriously, one of the great things about watching those videos is, like you were saying, there's an expression that is evident when you do any of those moves. It's graceful, it's beautiful, but it's also aggressive, and I don't understand how you don't rip your bodies apart in midair.
Oh, we rip our bodies apart. We're all injured.
But the expression in those movements is really clear, and it looks really great. I envy that you can still do that with your bodies. I'm way too old to do any of that shit. So, but speaking of that, the work that you put into your short films is also just great. And I feel drawn to those films because it's a throwback to the kung fu films, the kung fu eras of the 70s and 80s. It, straight homages to what made those films so impactful for kids in my generation and for you guys. How did you get started in filmmaking? Because kids from Vietnam with nothing, and now you decide to start shooting videos for YouTube. How does that happen?
Yeah, I like I said, I knew at a very young age I wanted to change the world. I think it was in high school when I first started to realize, like, okay, because in high school, you're about to graduate, you're like, oh, what do I do with my life? And then I had this, I had this passion for martial arts. So that's when I decided to really try to pursue it. And going into college, like me living under an Asian household, and I know a lot of Asians can relate to the story that your parents want you to, they escape from an embattled country and they want you to become something successful. They want you to become doctor, lawyer, and but where they messed up was where they fed me martial arts movies, and that's where the passion came from. So they told me going into college, just college and you do whatever you want after. So I did that. I kept up with my training, but I still finished college. And after college, I'm like, all right, I'm going in now. And I wanted to pursue martial arts in the film industry. And so just to get our foot in the door, we started making YouTube videos. We picked up, I think at the time it was like digital cameras or DV cameras. It wasn't even like DSLRs, iPhones, or not now. The iPhones, you can shoot 4K. um, um, Back then, yeah, it was digital cameras or DV cameras, and me and my brother and my one other brother, Daniel Ma, from Martial Club, we kind of make the trio.
Yep.
We kind of see ourselves as the current day Jackie, Samo, and Yun Bu. We would get together and just shoot, because honestly, all you need is two guys and a camera guy, and so we would just shoot. We would learn the craft, and I think it's good that we didn't have much. We don't have budget. We had to learn on our own, and I think the luxury of learning on your own is that you get to teach yourself. And at this point, we're the king of being self-taught. So you know what I mean. So you learn, yeah, you have to teach yourself. And so we taught ourselves how to act, shoot, fight, how to throw a punch or kick to the camera. We taught ourselves angles, how to edit, the whole package. And I think in a way we've kind of developed ourselves to be martial arts filmmakers, not just martial artists now.
Yeah.
So and using YouTube as a platform to kind of get our names out there, that's kind of what the plan has always been. And I guess in the recent years, it seems to be working. At least I hope.
Well, that platform has been super powerful for you guys, right? I mean, it's opened up a lot of doors for you. Was that what got you involved with Shang-Chi?
Yes, I believe it wasn't just the fact that we were just martial artists on YouTube. We were martial arts filmmakers on YouTube, and I think it was that aspect that attracted the late Brad Allen, and he saw us on YouTube. He saw one of our shorts. I believe it was like the Dance of the Drunken Masters, or it was the old school homage that me and Brian did, and he was really impressed. And he dove into our YouTube channel, and that's how he reached out to us. And funny story, how he reached out to us. He made so I'm friends with a Brad Allen on Facebook already, and I thought it was the real one. But I got a message from a Brad Allen with the Facebook profile picture had no profile picture.
Right.
I'm like, is this really Brad Allen? And he hits me up and he's like, hey, I'm looking for Andy Lee. And I would like to, opportunity for you. Can you meet me in Anaheim? Which funny, I think in Anaheim, Disney, I think he's taking his family to Disneyland. And quite coincidentally, Anaheim is just down the street. Disneyland is just right down the street from me. So I met up with him for lunch, and there he was. Like, see, he had a hat, sunglasses on, and he had facial hair, so I couldn't tell. But when he took off the hat and the sunglasses, I'm like, just look at this area, the eyes, and I'm like, yo, that is Brad Allen. Like, oh snap! So, and he told me eventually that, like, oh, the Facebook page that everyone is friends with is not the real one. I had to make one to reach out to you.
That's
so
funny.
That was how I got in touch with him, and that's when he presented me I'm working with for a Marvel film, and I'm like, is it Shang-Chi? And I knew, because at this time the word of Shang-Chi being made had gotten out already, and he told me that, like, oh yeah, meetings, and like it seems like the direction we're taking with the action is very like tailored for you guys, like what you guys do on YouTube. Like, this is the point of reference. This is kind of how we want to go about it, and yeah, I would like you to be a part of it. And I told him straight up from the beginning. And this goes back a little bit. I actually started with my foot in the door in stunts. as a
Hmm.
stunt performer a little bit, and
Hmm.
I told him, and this is a story for you too. I told him it wasn't. I learned real quickly that it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Sure.
I wanted to, and it's not to downplay like stunt performers or anything or what they do as their jobs. Like stunt performers, they put their lives on the line to make us as actors look good. They put together the action, they make the film. So stunt performers, all the respect to them. In my personal, just for me, my personal desires, I wanted to do more. I wanted the world to see my face. I wanted, which quite coincidentally, Death Dealer, you don't get to see his face yet.
Right, right, yeah,
But I wanted to show the world what I can do, and I wanted my name behind it, you know?
yeah.
So I told him, um, initially I'll help him on the stunt team, but and he told me, don't worry, I understand you. And if a role opens up, I will call you right away. And so I worked with Brad first initially to train Simu. So me, Brian, my brother, and my other brother, teammate DY Sao. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, really amazing martial artist. Us three, we trained Simu for a good 2 months, maybe three. I think Marvel had him out here in LA to do some training, and so it was us three. We were training him, and we were just uh, we we were training him in martial arts just to kind of get his foundation down. He was already really athletic, as you can tell. He already had the build. He he did a little bit of tricking, so he had some acrobatic skills. And for us, it was mainly training him in the foundations of martial arts and mainly his flexibility, because he would say it himself, like you could tell an expertise of a martial artist from his flexibility, and the splits was just not it for him.
Sure, sure.
It wasn't it for him. So, yeah. And moving forward, yeah, I know. And moving forward, this role of Death Dealer gets written in, and as soon as he gets written in, Brad calls me right away, and he tells me, "Hey, like, there's this role that kind of opened up for casting, and I want you to submit to it. It's this ninja character. It's so you like it because your aesthetic, your style is very anime. It has that ninja thing going, and like this character is very ninja, and it might just work for you. And um, for me, I submitted anyways. Beggars can't be choosers. Just submit for it, and I didn't think much of it. And it wasn't until like a couple weeks later, I get a call from the casting agency that works for Marvel, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we would like you to play this role. No audition needed. Just come in
Wow.
and play." Yeah, no audition needed, which was in from what Brad had told me, like that's unprecedented, like that's unheard of for a
Wow.
Marvel film. So something the stars must have aligned or something, but it was kind of a miracle how it played out.
That's cool. That's cool. And if you haven't seen it yet, Death Dealer is going to be one of the most popular costumes this Halloween, no doubt.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. That's fine. I don't even have a costume. I didn't get to keep the costume. And I'm watching on a Avengers campus at Disneyland. They have a Death Dealer walking around. I'm like, man, what the heck?
I can't believe you didn't try to steal one.
Yeah.
You know what? While we're on the subject of Death Dealer, then what then did you bring to Death Dealer to bring him to life? Like you said, though, it's not your face there, so you have to really do some extra stuff with just the movement and the attitude to give that character. Otherwise, that's just some dude in a suit, right? So what did you do to make him real?
To be honest, I didn't feel like I had to do much because I kind of felt like that character really fit me. And
Nice.
like I had to, and I keep my body in great condition year round, and I train a lot, and I stay in shape, and so just going into it, I was already kind of ready physically. The one thing I wanted to bring to the table was groundbreaking moves, like just stuff in my arsenal that I wanted to show the world. And we had to work collaboratively as an action team, and with the director to kind of, with Brad and everyone, to kind of make it work all together. And there was one move in there that I really had to fight for, and it was called like the full twist sidekick. I know maybe some people have it made it in the trailer, which was like, okay, that means I did something right.
Yeah.
um And that was you know, one of those haven't done on film type of moments. Like I really wanted to push for that. That was a move that like Brian, my brother, and I developed on our own. And we wanted to kind of we were always inspired by like how like when Tony Jaa came out, he was doing stuff that has never been done before. So we were
Yeah.
kind of playing off that angle, and I really pushed to fight for that move, and that move made it in. And I almost didn't make it. Like when I say that, I mean like we had like X amount of takes to shoot it, and I almost didn't land it because it wasn't an easy one to hit. You know?
Yeah.
It was an easy one to hit, but for some reason it was that last take that made it, and so I was really fortunate for that. And I'm really glad it made it into the trailer. It was one of those. This might be a trailer shot. I feel like, and I wasn't wrong. It was a total trailer shot.
That's awesome.
It was
That's
probably
awesome.
gonna hit a drop. It's probably gonna hit a drop in the trailer, and we weren't wrong about that.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was one that was on first on film. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And the character itself is just so cool to look at on screen. Looks great, moves great. So once you finally saw yourself on screen as Death Dealer, how surreal is that?
It was already surreal, like way back when we were shooting, like way back when we were shooting, because you know the lineup of this film has a lot of kung fu veterans.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh, Tony Leung, and you know Yun Hua, if you've seen it. Yun Hua.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was already surreal way back when I was sitting in the same casting like green room with them, you know, and I'm just like I used to watch you on the screen, and now we are sharing the screen together, and it was surreal.
Yeah.
And this wasn't the first time I've worked with Michelle. I worked with her on an A24 film.
Yep.
And it hasn't come out yet, and I think we're saving it for when this COVID thing is completely over, because
Sure.
it's a movie that definitely has to be experienced in theaters. So this movie with Michelle Yeoh, I mean, I worked with her on that, and moving on to Shang-Chi, it's 2 movies back to back we worked on together, and I felt like we like not only during this time I got to work with her, I got to know her more as a person, and in a way I kind of feel like she's taking me under her wing.
Cool.
And till this day I still get starstruck though, standing next to her. So that speaks a lot. That speaks a lot to how much of an impact like these veterans have had on me. And so that was when the surrealness hit.
All right. So on that note, then you're sharing the room with all of these idols. When did you realize that Shang-Chi and Death Dealer potentially going to be idols for a whole new generation of martial arts fans?
I did not know until last couple of days when the movie came out. I mean, I didn't get to see the movie until the premiere. I saw it. I knew it was good, but I'm not the world. I don't know how the world is going to perceive it, you know? So, okay, no, I lied. I knew it was going to change the world to some degree. But I didn't know that it was going to change the world to this degree. Like I just saw, like before I hopped on, that it's a quote unquote #1 movie in the world.
Awesome. Yeah.
And so I'm seeing it. It's weird. Like I'm walking around, like I was walking through a shopping center yesterday, and I had my hood and my mask on, and I just see, like, I walk by the theater and I see just kids, everyone just carrying Shang-Chi posters, and I'm just like, dude, this is kind of weird. So
it's, you know, I'm sure it is weird, and it's gratifying as a kung fu film fan, as a martial arts film fan, to see that happening again, because it's been such a long time since that kind of thing was in the zeitgeist, right? So now you got guys who want to be who want to be Shang-Chi, and not just kung fu film fans, but kids across races, across the ages, and as Asians, this is a huge step forward for representation. The cast is primarily Asian. There, you know, there's and it's rooted in Asian culture, Asian story, and this is something that is going to be a big deal just beyond Marvel action, right? So kudos to all of you guys. But as any martial arts student knows, this is a lifelong journey, right? So what's coming up next for you as an actor, as a martial artist, as martial club? What do you have going on?
I'm gonna say it again. That thing done is martial arts, and that I'm involved in this industry for martial arts. My martial integrity, I will never sacrifice that for an inch. And what's next for me is passion projects. To be honest with you, I feel like yes, even though I've had this opportunity to play this such a badass role in this historic movie. I still haven't been able to tell the world what I want to say yet. I want to tell my story, and so moving forward, I have a couple of passion projects I'm in development for. We have, a martial club movie we've always been wanting to do. We've been talking about it for like 2-3 years, and we've been really we're just honing down on the story to make it like the most perfect story it can be, and it's going to be the most martial arts AF story you will see. And beyond that, we're talking about so that will put the staple on martial arts for us. And beyond that, we're talking about representation. I think it's beyond just putting the ethnicity in the limelight. It's about the culture that, the ethnicity that we can bring. And martial arts is a gem in Asian culture. And if we're going to do it, we got to do it right. And moving forward, I'm also in development for a project I'm be doing in Vietnam. Well, it'll be in Vietnamese, we'll call it Viet Kieu, which is an American and Vietnamese crossover film. Cool. Just like Tony Jaa had, Thailand had Tony Jaa and Indonesia had Iko. Vietnamese did not have anyone yet. And I think they need someone to represent. And I think being on a platform such as Shang will definitely help. And I think, moving forward, I'm in development for a project in Vietnam that's also another passion project. So a couple that's going on, and that's just the gist of it. But I already know for a damn fact, like once we come out with it, it's gonna hit.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Listen, I know that you got to get going, but I wanted to thank you for the time. And
no, thank you for having me. That was really fun.
No, absolutely. And listen, I do want to say that if there is anybody out there that is going to represent martial arts well, it has to be the Martial Club. You guys have been doing it for so long, and you've been doing it so well. The stuff you guys are doing it, and you're doing it the right way. And it's great to see that there is a voice out there for those of us who grew up with that kind of stuff. And I know that if you're going to put something together to celebrate martial arts, to celebrate that whole culture, that you're going to do it with all the best intentions in mind. And I know it's going to come out awesome. So listen, best of luck with everything you got going on. Stay safe. Cannot wait to see how much of an impact Shang-Chi and Death Dealer have on martial arts in Hollywood. So keep doing what you're doing, and martial arts to the death of all of us, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me, man. I've always wanted to be on this podcast, and best believe this won't be the last time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. Listen, stay safe again. All right. Take care.
Likewise, you too. Thank you. Peace.
Thanks, Andy.
Poison Clan rocks the world.